All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Yesterday's meltdown against the Denver Broncos was just the latest in a long and growing line of terrible losses by the New York Football Giants franchise, with each one being worse than the previous one. The Giants, of course, yesterday took a 19-point lead into the fourth quarter, and when it was all said and done, New York allowed Denver to score 33 points in the fourth quarter and win on a walk-off field goal. This was the first time in more than 1,600 NFL games where a team had an 18-point lead with 6 minutes to go and lost. And honestly, at the end of the day, this is what Giants football has been reduced to. The Giants lead the world in losing via the walk-off field goal, especially the long walk-off field goal. As we've seen teams over the years, such as the Carolina Panthers, Philadelphia Eagles, and Dallas Cowboys, all take their turns in winning against the Giants in this fashion. This season alone, the Giants lost to the Cowboys in week number 2 as they could not maintain a 3-point lead with just under 30 seconds left. And of course, that paved the way for Brandon Aubrey to tie the game on a 64-yard field goal and then, of course, ultimately win it in overtime. The Giants are the only team that has lost to the New Orleans Saints so far this season. And after appearing to have some momentum following last Thursday night's win over the Philadelphia Eagles, the fourth quarter happened yesterday for Big Blue. Now, there are plenty of Monday morning quarterbacks who have been busy today passing that blame around for the Giants after their loss to the Broncos, whether it be directed at head coach Brian Daboll, quarterback Jackson Dart, defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, or others. But whomever that you might want to place the blame on, a loss like yesterday's for the Giants to the Broncos is exactly what happens when you are a bad franchise, which is just what the Giants are. Bad teams always find ways to lose games like this, while the good teams, like the Broncos, always find ways to win. How many teams, honestly, would have thrown in the towel yesterday if they were in the position that Denver was in the fourth quarter? A lot, okay? And how would the current Giants have responded if the shoe was on the other foot, as far as them being down double digits like that in a game and being able to come back and win? I'm not that optimistic that the Giants would have found a way to come back and win that game. But nonetheless, this is what people are talking about when they're referencing to the culture of sports, because the Giants played yesterday and they have been playing like this for a while. They play like a team that does not know how to handle their business. They play like a team that expects to lose. And at the end of the day, this is why they are 2-5 right now instead of being 5-2. Since 2013, the Giants have only had 2 winning seasons, okay, with 9 years of at least 10 losses. And if something doesn't change over the second half of this season, it's going to be 10 years of double digit losses for Big Blue. So, with the woes of the Giants, okay, should anybody be surprised that Saquon Barkley is having the success that he's currently having with the Philadelphia Eagles, or Daniel Jones with the Indianapolis Colts, or the countless other players who have left this franchise for greener pastures and they have revived their NFL careers once they've left East Rutherford? Nobody should really be surprised. It does not matter to me how many times that the Giants go out there and get themselves a new head coach or a new general manager or select in the top 5 of the NFL draft, because at the end of the day, they cannot get out of their own way and they continue to find ways to lose. So you see this, and clearly the Giants were within a whisker of going uh, 3-4. Okay, and that would have been a big building win for them to say, hey, you know what? Consecutive weeks you had weeks wins over Philadelphia and Denver. Didn't work out that way. Uh, but is there any hope that we could see the Giants reverse their fortunes, which have beleaguered this franchise for more than a decade now? I mean, at some point, if you are the Giants, it has to get the tide has to turn. At some point, excuse me, you're going to get people in the building that hate to lose more than they enjoy winning. The Giants have not gotten to that point now. It is expected that they find ways to lose these games, which is why they continuously find themselves in situations like this. I mean, again, 33 points in one quarter. You missed two extra points. It was like everything that needed to go right for the Broncos went right, and everything that needed to go wrong for the Giants went wrong. You're up 19-0. You give up a touchdown. Denver is successful with the 2-point conversion. The Giants allowed the Broncos to successful on two-point conversions yesterday. The Giants missed two extra points. They also went out there and failed on their 2-point conversion attempt. So when it was all said and done, this is like all of these things factored in. One turnover in the game was a very costly one by Jackson Dart, which led to a touchdown. And then we saw a defense from the Giants that was out of gas during that fourth quarter. The thin Rocky Mountain air got to them. Bad play calling, coming down the stretch offensively when it came time to try to salt the game away. Very predictable play calling. And again, it goes back to the not on my watch mentality, because if you're the Giants, you have to say to yourself late, if you're the offense, we go out there and get two first downs, the game is over. If you're the defense, you got to say, if we go down out there and make the stop, the game is over. Somebody has to go out there and make the play. Somebody has to say, hey, not on my watch today is this going down. And again, they don't have that because the expectation is there for this team to lose, not win. So, of course, if you're the Giants, you've got to turn it around real quick. Why? Because you got to go on the road and face the Philadelphia Eagles. A Philadelphia Eagles team that I guarantee you was not thrilled that, basically you took them behind the woodshed last Thursday and they're looking to put you in that hole. I got news for you. The second half of the season is not going to be pretty for the Giants, more than likely, because you look at their schedule. Other than the Las Vegas Raiders, the Giants don't have a team on their schedule currently that has a losing record. So this is what they have to face. Again, they came into this season with the hardest schedule in the National Football League. Make it make sense, because the Giants were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. They only won 3 games, but they somehow found a way to get the most difficult schedule in the NFL this season. But nonetheless, um, losses like yesterday, that's what changes regimes. And as good as things looked for Brian Daboll the week before with the win against Philly, is as bad as it looked yesterday. Some people are going to say, well, why didn't Daboll decide to move on from defensive coordinator Shane Bowen? Brian Daboll can't move on from Shane Bowen, and I tell you why. Shane Bowen is Brian Daboll's second defensive coordinator since he's been the head coach of the Giants. Of course, he fired Wink Martindale, and Wink Martindale was an established defensive coordinator prior to coming to the Giants a couple of years ago, and now he's once again having success collegiately at the University of Michigan. Again, culture in the Giants organization. So if you are Brian Daboll, you can't go out there and make that move. But the bottom line is, something has to give as far as a personnel move to show everybody else on this team that, hey, you know what happened yesterday will not be tolerated. But of course, that clearly didn't happen. And again, I cannot say this enough. This is what happens when you are a bad organization, and this is what the Giants are. Now, could they possibly turn things around against the Philadelphia Eagles next Sunday? We got to wait and see, but I'm not holding out hope But of course, if you're the Giants, nonetheless, you've got to find a way to put this loss, bad loss, behind you, and you have to try to find a way to move on from it, which is going to be easier said than done. But again, like I said before, bad teams find ways to lose games. The Giants are a bad team. There's no nice way to sugarcoat it. And until they figure this out, until they get enough people in that building that say, you know what, not on my watch, until they get enough people there that hate to lose more than they enjoy to win, these are the results that are going to continue to plague Big Blue. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, be sure to check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365 that you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. And just like it is on the X, be sure to check me out on Instagram at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. And like I always say, you give me that follow, I will do the same in return. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.